Well, to everyone in the crowd, welcome to our first live demo session of 2026. My name is Ryan Mullen. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Cleo. I am joined by my colleague, Shane Hagan. He's on our Solutions Architect team. He's the brains of the operation, and he's going to be the one walking through the platform here very shortly. We're going to do these every other week, by the way, and if you signed up on our events page, for example, on Cleo.com, I wouldn't be doing my job as a marketer not to at least plug our website here. You'll notice that today, right, we're going to be talking about Cleo Integration Cloud for shippers. So Shane's going to be walking through our platform, how you can interact and integrate with your ecosystem of 3PLs, carriers, and I'm sure we'll also touch on retail relationships and whatnot. But every other week, we'll bring a new theme. So I'm going to plug the one in 2 weeks because I encourage you to join that one as well, where on February 12th, we'll be showing off no-code onboarding. And for every webinar that you sign up and attend, we will be sending out a recording. So for today's, that'll hit your inbox early next week. It'll come from our customer marketing manager, Jill Barlow. So please keep an eye out for that note. And again, if you have a colleague who maybe missed this, please share the recording with them and then send them, again, our events page or some of the links to our upcoming webinars as we progress through 2026. Last area of housekeeping, our favorite types of live webinars or demos are the ones where we get engagement and questions from the crowd. So if something comes to mind, don't wait till the end. We will be carving out some time, but put your question right there in the Q&A box that Shane's highlighted. We'll be circling back to these questions. If for whatever reason we get so many that we can't answer all of them before our time's up here, well, I promise a Cleo representative will reach out to you directly with an answer, but we should be able to save enough time. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Shane. Shane, please take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. To quickly introduce myself, my name is Shane Hagan. I'm a solution architect with the Cleo team, been with the team for about 3 years now. I support our go-to-market teams as a technical resource, really educating our prospects and customers on how the platform works and what it's capable of. So yeah, that's me. Nice to get in front of everybody here. So I want to get us started with just a high-level architecture diagram of the Cleo solution, just so everybody understands what the solution ultimately does. And I'll use this example here. So from a high level, right, the Cleo Integration Cloud does end-to-end ecosystem integration. And what that means is we're connecting your business ecosystem on the right-hand side of this diagram, whether that's what we'll be talking about today, your 3PL warehouses or the 3PL carriers that you might be working with, or this could be other relationships like suppliers or customers. We really support the entire supply chain relationship that you might have with other organizations. So we connect to those parties through whatever means of communication need to be supported. In traditional relationships, we have EDI transactions that move back and forth, but we can also have proprietary, file formats like a flat file that somebody has come up with, or maybe we're seeing more forward-thinking API services that are being stood up to get updates on a shipment or track your order, things like that. We can also integrate with. So we have a breadth of data movement capabilities that we can support through traditional file system exchanges or file-based exchanges like AS2 or SFTP, or like I mentioned, could easily be API-based exchanges as well. So the demo today will definitely focus on those 3PL relationships that you might be having with third-party warehouses or carriers that are doing transportation services for you. But the platform can support a number of other use cases. Now, in the middle is where all of the automation happens. The Cleo Integration Cloud and our engine is what actually transforms this data, does any sort of validation, and ultimately integration into our ERP or TMS system or WMS system on the left-hand side. So say, for instance, you get an order from a customer and you're going to fulfill it through a third party. You set up all of that fulfillment information in your ERP system, whether that's to a warehouse or to a carrier. And once all of that information is ready, check a box or have a workflow for a user to say, hey, this shipment is ready or this shipment should go to a third party, we will pick that up and automatically send the EDI or whatever transaction that third party expects to receive to them. Any communication that goes back and forth after that, we will also orchestrate and make sure updates show up for your users in their appropriate systems. So any of the back and forth kind of orchestration that needs to happen here, Cleo can absolutely handle. So we see some other examples of the places that we integrate with, whether it's private cloud or public cloud systems, cloud storage, databases, file systems, right? Whatever you need us to touch, we can absolutely integrate with. So that's the automation solution that Cleo delivers. Now, while we're automating all of these things and moving data back and forth, we're going to expose it in what we call the cockpit. So the cockpit sits on top of your integration processes here and gives you end-to-end visibility, gives you context into what's happening, what's going back and forth. If something is going wrong, you get notified. If something isn't happening that should be happening, we can notify off of non-events as well. Say, for instance, you expect to receive a number of updates from your carrier and they haven't sent an update in an hour or 2 hours or whatever it might be. You can get notified that, hey, we haven't received communication that we expected to receive, right? So things like that you can bake into the monitoring that the cockpit can do. It's also where you can onboard new partners, whether you have a new 3PL that you're bringing in, you're able to set up their transactions and how they communicate with you through the cockpit. So that's the high level overview. Um, I won't spend any more time on slides. I'll get into the platform here. But while I'm switching over screen shares, I do just again want to mention there is a Q&A/chat box. So if you have any questions, please drop them in there and we will get to them at the end. So I'm going to share my browser now. So we're switching over to the Cleo Integration Cloud Cockpit. This is, again, that dashboard and visibility tool that will sit on top of the automation that Cleo is building. And I have my view set up here for managing my shipper relationships or my relationships with third parties. And we can see I get high level charts here for my performance, or rather my 3PL party's performance with me, right? How quickly are they responding to the freight orders that I send them? Are they on time? Am I getting invoices in a timely manner or sending invoices in a timely manner? Are those shipments being delivered or is that shipment starting? Is the shipment starting on time with these orders that I'm fulfilling through third parties? So that kind of um, monitoring and timeliness checks Clio can absolutely do so that you're aware of the health of your 3PL network and how things are running. You can dive into these tiles here and see the breakout of, okay, what orders missed these time frames, what orders were met. Did this have any downstream impact on revenue or potential impact to the end customer? So all of that kind of captured here for the high level. We can scroll down and see our actual transactions that are moving back and forth with some of these use cases. The one I have here is for load tenders. So load tenders to my carriers and the responses, statuses, and invoices that come back. So a user is really able to configure this dashboard to see exactly what they want to see. If they're only interested in issues and volumes and the type of transactions you're doing, you can come in and edit these dashboards and pick exactly what you want to see. If you are interested in some of these performance metrics that we're seeing, you can also add those to the dashboard as well. So I want to get into a specific example here with our messages. So we will jump to our messages tab here. And when I open this up, it's going to show me, in this case, the default filter is all of my inbound transactions. So I'm seeing actually everything that's happening in my demo instance here. But I could come in and maybe search for all of the 204s that are moving through my environment, or load tenders, rather, load tender requests that are moving through, and maybe some of the warehouse orders that I might be sending to 3PL warehouses. So I could expand my search for those and see all of my activity. It looks like load tenders are much more popular here, but we do have some warehouse shipping orders as well. So as a Clio user, I'm able to come in here and comb through this information. I have my table or my dashboard set up here for purchase orders right now, but I could easily adjust this to show other data that would be coming from these types of transactions. So I could uncheck the box for purchase orders, and let's say I want to see SCAC codes or shipment IDs. You're able to manage the data that gets surfaced at the dashboard level here, or the table level, so that some of this information is quickly accessible. And I might have picked the wrong ones because all of these seem to be blank. Um, but regardless, we can keep it moving here. So there are filters for the different types of transactions you might be doing. If you're doing transportation over the ocean, there's ocean transactions that we would support in here as well. And then any of the detail in the messages, if you have a SCAC code or you have a shipment ID that you want to search on, you're able to search on those message details here. And any search by partner, and also filter by the any issues that might be happening. So if I open up one of these examples here, and I'll use this inbound load tender. For a shipper, you would see an outbound load tender to your carrier, right? So we see our load tender here, the original load tender request. We see some high-level information, like the SCAC code, the must respond by date. There's other values in here that we could potentially be filling in if the partner or if we're providing that information to our carrier. We can see in here the message lifecycle, so the endpoints that this touched, the transformation that it went through. If I was interested in diving into the integration components here, I could open this up and see the communication with the partner, see how this integrated with my ERP system or my TMS system, and how it was transformed, right? So I could see all of those endpoints. I'm also able to see the source data for both the target and the destination. So if this is an EDI transaction, I see my EDI 204 here. I would also see the version that came from my ERP system. In this case, this is or my TMS system. We're seeing a JSON version of a shipment here, or shipment request. So we'll see both the source and target data for our various transactions. And then on the left-hand side, we're actually creating a transaction chain of everything that was related to this original load tender request. So we're seeing the response from the carrier. We're seeing the shipment updates that were sent however often, right? So we're capturing all of that and linking it together and surfacing high-level information on each of these transactions here. So we see our 214, our first one, X3 arrived at the pickup location. We're able to comb through these and see all of the shipment updates and status codes that we sent or received for this order. And lastly, we have our invoice at the bottom here, showing us the invoice from the carrier. So that is the message detail that we surface in the cockpit here. I do want to point out that any of this information that we just saw, any of this, the high level, maybe business level information that Clio is capturing, we can also automatically export it to folks that might be interested in this information, but not necessarily interested in logging into the cockpit. So we have scheduled reports here where we can build filters and filter out our data for here's all of our For example, all of our load tenders that don't have a response yet from a carrier, right? Or let's see, um, shipment details, right? Late shipment starts. They haven't begun sending us 214s or status updates. Things like that, we can build filters and reports for and send that out to whoever wants to receive that information. Similarly, for folks on finance teams, for example, we could send them all of the invoices that we've received from carriers so that they can do their reconciliation to make sure we're paying for everything that we apparently used, things like that. So I want to talk about when things go wrong and when we have issues. So obviously it's a software platform and we're working with folks at other organizations and their technology stacks. So things are bound to go wrong. And so when things do happen, when things go bump, we will put a flag on that transaction or that message that caused an issue. We will have a ticketing system in here that so we can maintain if it's new, if it's had eyes on it, if it's on hold, and if it's been resolved. We can see what document is being impacted here, and I'm going to try and find a 214 example to use in a second. And we also have categories, right? So what kind of issue is occurring here? So let me find an example of a carrier transaction that's failing. And I know I have one here from a couple months ago. I'm just going to jump back in time a little bit. So while I'm here, we can retain data for as long as you'd like. By default, we do 90 days, but we can extend that retention period to as long as you'd like. Um, hmm. It might have been marked as resolved, and that's why I'm not seeing it. Yep. Uh, I always lose this example in here somewhere. I'm not going to fumble around too long. I know I don't have much time, but I do want to show a carrier example here. If it doesn't show up now, yep, all right. We will use one of the other examples I have in here. So I have this example. It's an 810 invoice, but let's picture it as the same thing. It's an invoice from a carrier, and it had an issue. So if I open it up here, um, we, uh, this isn't a great example. I'm going to use a different one. Sorry, folks. We will go back to my last 60 days here, and I'll just use this one. So the main point of this was to show the issue resolution. And so when we open up an issue that's happening, I have this issue with a particular document from a customer. They are sending us bad data, right? They're sending us data that isn't mapping correctly or isn't validating. And what we see here is an AI-assisted issue summary that lets us know what happened in English or more human-readable terms so that we understand what's going wrong. At the bottom here, we see our integration logs, the actual logs from our integration engine. So more technical for folks that understand what's going on. They can use this to really pinpoint where the failure is happening. In the issue or the resolution and recovery tab here, we get a root cause analysis, again, letting us know what happened, and then some recommended fix options. So for an issue like this, we would probably convert the data that the partner is sending us to be valid information that we can map, whether it's mapping it to a different format or converting it to, say, ZZ to 00, for example, so it stops failing our validation rules. And then once we deploy that change, whether that's our team helping you as a managed service, or your team can absolutely be in here doing self-service operations. Once that is fixed and the change is deployed, you can come down here and select all of your impacted messages, all of the documents that are experiencing that same issue, and reprocess them through that now fixed or updated integration process. So this is the resolution and troubleshooting and recovery process here, I think it is worth mentioning the discussion tab. If you are a self-service customer, or maybe you have a team of folks that support your Clio platform, this is where you can all collaborate and talk amongst yourselves when fixing an issue. This is also where you would see any updates from our managed services team. So we do have offerings for managing and maintaining your Clio environment on your behalf. And so if you're interested in seeing how things are getting resolved, you can check in on the updates in the discussion tab here. But our team is proactively resolving and fixing things on your behalf when you are a managed service customer. We can absolutely give you more details about the managed service offering if you'd like to hear more about that. But generally speaking, that's how it works, and you'll receive those updates here instead of having to track in a different ticketing system or through an email chain. All right, very good. So the last thing I want to point out, and something I mentioned earlier, is the performance scorecards that Clio can effectively monitor for and build out. So if we'd like to scorecard our carriers, for example, to make sure they're responding to our orders on time. We could also scorecard our warehouse 3PL warehouses to make sure they are responding to our warehouse orders within a certain amount of time. We could do that here, build in some of that monitoring to make sure those responses are coming back in a timely manner. And when they don't come back, they get marked as missed. In this column here, there could be financial risk that we assign to it if there is some sort of risk associated with missing these timeframes. And then when you open up the partner relationship here, you get a breakout of the orders that missed those timeframes and the ones that were met. So if you have any financial impacts that you've added in here, and if we're capturing the order amount, all of that can get rolled up into a high-level scorecard for each of your 3PL relationships. So I know I have about 5 minutes left in the webinar here, and I see we had a couple questions come through. So Ryan, do we want to take a look at those?
Yeah, sure. And I think, I mean, I don't know if you want to add any more detail here, but the last question that came in is very in line with what you're showing. First and foremost, the attendee stated that they use Mercury Gate, but then asked how or can they use Clio to keep tabs on carrier performance.
Absolutely. And so that's really what we're trying to see here is imagine, your popular carriers, maybe it's FedEx, Freight, and JB Hunt. You'd have entries in here for them that say, hey, here's how quickly they're responding to your freight orders. Here's how often they are sending you updates and how quickly they're getting back invoices. So it's really monitoring their response performance to you is what we're aiming to capture here. And then all of that gets rolled up in the scorecards and the high-level dashboard that we saw in this screen here.
Awesome. That's great. And I'm going to add to this question, so I apologize, Shane, right? Because we are talking
Ryan,
about shipper.
your audio is sounding not great.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this any better?
No.
No. How about now? Any better?
I don't know if it's on my end or not. It's very choppy.
Okay.
Okay, you sound fine now. You sound fine now. Go ahead.
I sound fine now. All right. I apologize. Well, I was just going to ask you to elaborate a little bit here because we are talking about shippers, right? And so their ecosystem and everyone in the car, their ecosystem doesn't just consist of 3PLs and carriers, but maybe just touch on how we can also track and scorecard relationships with retailers and some of those critical customers and where these orders are actually going to.
Absolutely. Great point. So, obviously there's a destination for these orders, and That destination is usually we know we get there by the carrier update or by the advanced ship notice having a delivery date on it. So we're also able to monitor on your updates and your responses to your retailer or to your customer throughout this entire 3PL process to make sure that every dot that is being connected in the supply chain, at the end of the day, it's fulfilling the customer needs or the customer expectations. So that ship notice that you send to the partner, to your customer, it doesn't meet the expectations that they set for you. Did you hit the response times that they're expecting? So not only can you scorecard your service providers that you're using in these shipper relationships, you can also scorecard yourself to make sure you're hitting customer expectations.
Awesome. Thank you for adding in there. We did have a question about Cleo's ability to integrate with visibility platforms such as Project 44 and
Your audio is, again, it's back to being bad, but just to re-ask that question, our ability to integrate with visibility platforms such as Forkites, Project 44, MacroPoint. So yes, absolutely. Those platforms typically support API integrations, which we will send or receive updates from. So if we are a shipper in this relationship, we would be getting updates from those platforms and sending those into your TMS or your ERP system. And it all depends on exactly how they support those updates. It's traditionally either an API or an EDI transaction. Very good. I think Ryan's having some audio issues, so I'll go ahead and bring us home. Like you said, this was recorded, so you will receive a recording here in a fairly short amount of time. I'm not sure exactly when those get sent out. And we will be having a webinar in 2 weeks on no-code onboarding. But yeah, with that being said, I think we are done here. So thank you for your time, everybody, and have a good rest of your day.